Hey everybody, welcome back to yet another episode of EventSpeak with me, Big John, CEO of Beyond Experiential. At this point, I hope everybody knows what we're doing here, but for those of you that are just tuning in for the first time, first of all, welcome. Thanks for stopping by. And if this is your second or third visit, we appreciate you guys supporting us. We are, we're not new by any stretch, but we've kind of come back to life now. And EventSpeak, for folks like myself and my guests today that come from that class, know it well and probably got a lot of work off of it, and a lot of field staff got relate to it, and agency friends as well. Well, we have brought this back to life. And not only is it a social platform that is going to speak to the entire all-inclusive event ecosystem, we've expanded out of just the core of what EventSpeak was known for before, which of course was experiential and brand marketing. This interview show is an opportunity to create dialogue and for people to come on and have a conversation about what's going on right now, COVID life in the event industry, and where it's going and where it's at, which is all still a big question mark. But today's episode, we are going back to our roots and sticking with what we know best, which of course is brand and experiential marketing. Chances are, if you're a field staff, brand ambassador, tour manager, you probably work for this guy and his company, Assist Marketing. He's an old friend, and I'm excited to have him on the show. The last time I think we talked was when I was working for him back in the day. So it's good to see you again, Joe Wroblewski from Assist Marketing. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, John. Yeah, it has been a while. I think 2012, 2013 is the last time we crossed paths, but I appreciate you reaching out. And I'm obviously very familiar with EventSpeak from being on the road for years, along with when our company started. We would post stuff on EventSpeak, and it helped us grow our business. So excited to be a part of it, and excited to see EventSpeak back around.
Oh, thank you, man. That's great to hear. You know, I can't really speak highly enough of James Trevelus, you know, who founded EventSpeak, and it seems sort of serendipitous how it all sort of came to be. And I use that lightly because I'm not trying to downplay by any stretch of the imagination, like the incredibly serious nature of everything that's going on in the world today, and how incredibly hard our industry has been impacted. But, you know, as I've probably said about 1,000 times on this show, reinvention out of necessity isn't necessarily a bad thing. So, Joe, I mean, everybody knows who Assist Marketing is, but for the sake of the conversation, can you tell us a little bit about Assist? What you guys have been doing to hold up in the current COVID life. I mean, you got a lot of folks, I'm sure, that depended on you guys for events that are not happening now. Kind of what is the advice that you guys are giving them while we're all still kind of waiting to see what happens here?
Yeah, so Assist Marketing, we've been around since the end of 2010. I was on the road for 12 years prior to that point, and just felt there was a need for a reputable staffing agency. I remember being on the road, dealing with a lot of staffing agencies out there, and just never felt one took care of the staff and their clients at the same regard all the time. And so that's where Assist Marketing came from. You know, we've done every event under the sun. We have a lot of sports marketing in there, a lot of tours, a lot of festivals, fairs, all that kind of stuff. So fast forward to today, you know, obviously we're pretty much shut down like everyone else, waiting for things to come back up. We're getting good news out of Florida and Georgia at this point now that they've reopened, that they're not seeing a big increase in you know, cases at this point. So there is optimistic hope at this point that if the rest of the country could kind of see these numbers continue to go that path, that hopefully, you know, in a few months, once everything's open, that we can start doing smaller events. I don't expect us to be doing the big you know, football games and fairs and festivals right away, but it's going to be more of hopefully street teams and more one-on-one interactions and demos and that kind of stuff that will probably be back first. So right now we're just, you know, trying to hunker down like everyone else. You know, we had 9+ years of Assist Marketing stuff that, in a way, there's a little bit of reprieve here that we're able to, you know, get our lives back in track so that hopefully the next 9 or 10 years are just as good or better than the first 9 or 10. So, you know, we're hanging in there. We're not going anywhere. We're just waiting for things to start coming back. And, we're following up with our clients and following up with a bunch of our staff, making sure that everyone's doing all right, and we're ready to go. We have the team ready to rock and roll once we get the all clear from the powers that be.
So I think it's a common conversation that we're having, and I do agree that I think what's happening now is we're slowly seeing states start to peel back their restrictions. I think 31 in total now, and of course varying degrees depending upon, obviously major cities like Los Angeles or New York that were hit extra hard are going a bit slower. But I think it's very encouraging when you hear that you have other states like Georgia, like Florida, Utah, that have opened up fully and have been, in some capacities for some time now, and not seeing huge spikes in numbers. I think it's obviously a huge debate amongst the medical profession and folks that are in our government and concerns of the economy and everything in between. I think what is important now more than ever is for our industry to be taking advantage of this time to really start ramping up for what's going to come next. I was doing an interview just literally yesterday that'll be coming out in a few weeks with Richard Jones out of Create, an agency out of Sydney, Australia. And Sydney, they're at a point where their restrictions have largely been lifted. They're just kind of getting back into it. And he said that, the biggest thing that they've been doing is spending the time talking with their clients, making sure their clients are ready. We're going to have to rethink our strategies, and it's not going to be big, huge concert festivals right away. It's not going to be, as you said, major sporting events. But as anything that we've seen, people are hungry, right, man, for that interaction. Experiential, I think, is so effective because it does provide an experience that's associated with a brand or a service, and that's something that you can't, from a digital perspective. Sure, there's amazing technology now that helps us explore that, but it's not something you can replicate. Now, with that being said, it's a tough time, obviously, for everybody, and the human element is such a big part of this business, especially from the staffing perspective. And entrepreneurs are having a hard time still, especially now more than ever. How would you say you and your team are pivoting to adapt to a post-COVID world? Meaning, obviously, it's coming. And we know it's going to be a different landscape than what we're used to seeing, similar to what it is now. But what would you say the biggest thing you're impressing upon your staff, your immediate in-house people, that they should be thinking about going into post-COVID life?
I think the biggest difference we're going to see is, and it's going to be good, is clients are going to be looking out for the staff more than they ever have in the past. And I say that, we have certain clients, a lot of our clients are great. They understand the need for breaks. They understand the need for water on site, and giving people a little reprieve every, hour or every other hour or whatever it is. I think we're going to see that a lot more, and we're going to see a lot more hand sanitization. We're going to see less tablets that people are going to be sharing with people, that other people are going to be touching. So I think the germaphobes out there of the world are going to be excited to see what the post COVID results are, because we're going to see a lot more care for the staff and care for the general public coming out of this, and making sure that we're doing things as safely as possible. And there may be branded face masks that we're wearing, and branded you laugh, and I'm pretty sure it's going to come, and we're going to see some hand sanitizers that are individualized, packaged based on the clients, and that's going to be your new premium item is hand sanitizer and things like that. We've seen that from some clients, and as crazy as those ones seemed in the past, those are going to actually be hot commodities coming out of this. So, it's one of those things. Right now, we're just telling our internal staff, hunker down, get your life in order for when this does come back. We hope that it's the faucet opens and we're back doing tons and tons of events here soon. I don't think it's going to be that way right off the start. I think it's going to take one of the few big clients out there that come back and say, okay, we're ready to start, and someone's going to wait and see before all the rest of them start following suit. So, we're hopeful. We have some of the smaller clients out there that do more of the one-on-one interactions. That we think that those will be the first ones coming back. We're ready for them to come back when they are ready. But right now it's let's get everyone's lives in order on the back end, because we in this industry, you go full speed all the time. There's very little reprieve to focus on your life at home and getting your house in order and all that stuff. We have that time now, so. I know a lot of our staff are itching to get back and itching to get back to the madness, and we miss it. I never thought I would miss events, live events, as much as I do. And our company's worked from home from day one, so it's not necessarily the work at home issue for us, but it's the fact that I used to go out daily and go to events and go to restaurants and all that kind of stuff, that I never realized how much you missed that interaction out there with other people. So we're ready for it. We're ready for the floodgates to start open, and hopefully it will be in the next few months.
Man, I relate very much to everything you're saying, Joe, because you're absolutely right. There's typically two speeds in our business, either 6,000 miles an hour or zero. Like it's either all in or nothing. You got, of course, some of your folks that are your contract players and your staffers that are sitting in the middle, that are kind of ramping up to be as busy as some of the five-star general type folks that are out there now, that are tour managers and core staff for experiential projects. It is a rare time to sort of gather and really be introspective of where we are all at professionally. I know for Beyond and Evolve and Nebula and my partners with EventSpeak, we were all coming off very, very busy years. And when this came, it was just, I think it was so abrupt that it's like there was no opportunity to even digest it, let alone be prepared for it. And I think that's not necessarily a bad thing, because how do you prepare for it? Like there's really no way. Like once you pull out the ability to have people out at an event, you're left scratching your head. I definitely relate to what you're saying on the sense of just for me, I had to take my two kittens to the vet today just to have a checkup done, and I left the house to go go to the vet, and it was a thing. I went to the vet and the dollar store, and it was fantastic because just getting out and being able to talk to people, you miss those interactions. I definitely agree on that energy that is lacking, because when you have those events, even though guys like us aren't necessarily on the road full time anymore, when we're going out to events that our companies are working with, there's you're out there, you're part of it, you watch your team doing what you're doing, and you're rolling up your sleeves and doing what you got to do to help out, and I look forward to that time. And now that it's not there, I'm ready for it more than ever before. But it's also given opportunity, just like we have put our focus on to bringing EventSpeak back to life. It's given the opportunity for a lot of the agency owners, I think, to band together more than we've ever seen before. There's been plenty of conversations, I'm sure you've been part of, where folks that would be considered professional competitors to you, where you're all talking to each other and saying hey guys, we need to be working together on this, because we're all in the same boat. I know that you're a supporter of the AAEP. I know Larry Hessa from Encore, who was just on the show, is as well. And Teague just actually reached out to me on LinkedIn today to extend the olive branch, which I'm really excited to hear something like that exists. And I think it's something, especially for someone like yourself, an assist for what you do, could be really important. Tell me a little bit about why you think it's important for an organization like the AAEP to exist, or even a site like EventSpeak to exist.
Yeah, I think, I am a supporter of AAEP. Tej and I have had several conversations over the last few months about it. And the biggest thing I would say is we need independent site that people can go to, much like EventSpeak was in the past, and I'm looking forward to having again, that it's not run by a platform that's a for-profit platform necessarily, that people can go and have conversations and talk about the good and the bad, and not have it be muted, like we're seeing on Facebook and YouTube lately of one side's being muted. It's good to be able to see both sides of every situation, so that you can learn and you can understand what other people are talking about, and we can learn who the good players and the bad players are in the industry as well. And it's great that the AAEP is going to be potentially an opportunity for that. And Tej and I, what I said to Tej right from the start was, I'm willing to support you guys, help send out an email to our entire database saying, hey, this is a brand new group, give it a shot. It's a free trial right now, or it was up until May 1st, and so give it a shot. Give it a shot for a year, and if it's something that you saw value in, and I hope you do, then great. And if you don't feel the value is there, then great. Then you at least had a chance to do that. I think we need something like that in our industry that allows people to have open dialogues, allows people to learn. The great news is that what they're trying to do is educate people. The tax questions come up all the time, every year. What can be written off? What can't be written off? And you get a lot of bad advice in these Facebook groups of, oh, you can write this off, you can write that off. And then you talk to lawyers or accountants, and they're like, no, you can't. And so it's just one of those, you're listening to someone else that maybe they've done it and maybe they've gotten away with it, but it doesn't make it legal. And it doesn't mean that you're not going to get audited and cause some issues. So it's good to hopefully have a source out there that can give you the true value of that. And hopefully they can get a lawyer on there and an accountant on there every year and talk about these things. And talk about non-payment issues. The companies that don't pay people for whatever reason. Get a lawyer on there and explain what their options are. Those are kind of things that this industry needs, because right now it's a lot of, oh, well, so-and-so on Facebook said this, and that doesn't really help our industry. So I'm all for the AAEP hopefully being that source. And I'm all for EventSpeak being another source like that. And I'm all for any other sources out there that will provide some kind of value, and not the necessarily the Facebook groups. Not that I think the Facebook groups have served their purpose, but it would be nice to have a more professional option for getting your answers than someone on Facebook said this, and you don't know that it's necessarily true. Things like that. If we can get true professionals on these groups, on these sites, and have them actually give true answers, that will go a long way on this. And that's why I like these kind of podcasts, because you're hearing directly from the sources instead of hearing, second and third hand about companies and about what they stand for. So I'm all for the AAEP giving that option. I'm all for the EventSpeak and any other ones that are going to lift up our industry. I'm willing to help support it and then let them, run. And I don't want to be the behind the scenes of saying what is right and wrong on those sites, because that's not what my option is. My goal is to make my company as successful as possible, but giving you the outlook to be able to reach out to these other groups and find the true answers to help you become a better person.
Well said, Joe. I really think something like what the AAEP is doing is important, and I think it's also important for the approach that we are actually taking to it. You see, with from our perspective at EventSpeak, is we see companies like the AAEP and those types as allies, as people that we should be teaming up with. That we are taking a little bit different of an approach, where yes, we want to have. There's definitely the place. Like the Facebook groups serve a great purpose. They do, but they're not moderated in a sense. There's no control of the narrative. Like it's just what people are talking about, and a lot of it's largely opinion. There's not like a narrative that's swooping in to be like, well, actually, no, that's not true, because from
right.
This is something that we have expertise in. Our thought is with EventSpeak, yes, it's kind of a multifolded equation for us, that we have the ability to, of course, have the job boards and the ability to review agencies. And for us, we want it to be completely non-biased. We want it to have the approach where people could come and have that voice. We are looking at it as a network as well. If you think about CNN and what it brings to news, or depending on what side of the government you sit on, Fox, what it brings to news, we want to have a similar network with EventSpeak, which is kind of what this show started as, where it's like if we can capture a lot of this in video content and we have a ton of different ideas for a lot of new content. New shows are going to be popping up on the EventSpeak Network over this next year. It's really exciting. And it's all going to be tooled to the inclusive event industry with, of course, focused spotlights on things like the AAEP. In fact, what I was telling TJ is like, listen, man, come on the show. Let's talk about it. You know, like actually, and this is something I'd love to invite you to do with us sometime, Joe, is I like Bill Maher, not necessarily his politics, but I love the way Bill sets up his shows, where he'll get, you know,
Sure.
3 or 4 different people that come in and do like a roundtable discussion, and then folks have the option to ring in and ask questions. Well, we're thinking of after having something like that on EventSpeak, where it would be someone like yourself with me mediating and a few other industry professionals from across other aspects of the business, where we can go Facebook Live and people could chime in real time while our producer watches the questions, and we can answer questions in real time. Maybe in one of those scenarios, it could be, you know, my business partner is an attorney, and, you know, Lord knows I blow him up plenty with questions as things happen. Because what you said is very true. The tax thing, and people out there that are on the road really put the emphasis on there. Pay attention to your taxes. Don't try, you know, tax preparation is one thing, tax avoidance is another. I worked with an accountant dude for like 10 years, never had a problem. And then one day he just stopped returning my phone calls and just went AWOL. And I just ended up spending thousands with a firm to find out that he hadn't filed a bunch of my returns. And then once I actually incorporated Beyond, there was a corporate filings. Like, it was nearly a disaster. But fortunately, I was able to get ahead of it and spend a lot of money to get in front of it. Having that kind of information available to you now through organizations like us, could really save people a lot. And I think it all boils down to, in conclusion, like we talked about off camera, is just having what you and I are doing now, the ability to have that conversation, that dialogue. And, you know, even with this show, EventSpeak, on EventSpeak, you know, we intend to do, you know, similar conversations with the field staff and people that are new to the business and old to the business, to really give an opportunity to get a feel for what people want to see EventSpeak be. And I really do say this to all of you watching. And Joe, please, by all means, invite to your network and people in your database. We're free to sign up with. It's a very similar setup to Facebook, as a way that the site is designed specifically, so you already know how to use it. But it's better to be able to come and have multiple minds on something versus just one. And we do ours a little differently because we do it all in you know, essentially a video format, so it's something folks can either watch or listen to the way you do on this show. Joe, it's been so awesome talking with you. I really do sincerely appreciate you coming by the show today. Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Wroblewski from Assist Marketing. You can find him at assistmarketing.com. For those of you out there that are looking to get into the business, for those of you that are in the business looking for work, I've personally worked with Assist. They're a great company. I don't just say it. And I didn't ask you about telling this story, Joe, before we talk, but I'm going to tell it anyways real quick in conclusion. But back when we were working, I had a partner and I were touring for Joe and Assist years ago. And for whatever reasons, the tour ended up getting cut short. It was kind of blindsided everybody. And what would have been the equivalent of a few weeks worth of pay that wasn't going to get paid. And Joe paid us. Assist paid us. You paid us in full, dude. You don't even know what a huge difference. That was the difference of, like, literally not knowing how we were going to be able to pay our bills coming out of that tour, to being able to make the ends meet. The way, you know how it is on tour, you're spending money before it even shows up because you're trying to figure out what you're going to do. And I'll never forget it, Joe. Like, it just said so much about the kind of person you are and the integrity that you and Assist have. And this is my opportunity to say thank you.
It's just one of those things that you always try and do what we think is right, not necessarily what's best for yourself. So thank you.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And I thank you for that. Everybody, this has been EventSpeak with me, Big John, CEO Beyond Experiential. You can find us out on the web at www.eventspeak.com. Until next time, please take care of yourselves and each other.